know that I'm from mainland. Yes, I'm a student from mainland. I spent like 5 years in HKBU geography as a university student. So I just want to share some my experience when I'm in the HKCGG. So my first thing is, it's like when I just get there, it's like my routine is from Beijing flight takes 3 hours flight to Shenzhen, and then from Shenzhen to Hong Kong. So at that time, the new territory to me is just like that. It's all black. And what I really want is at that time just from Lohu and to Kowloon, so how it is 1 minute and shrink the whole new territory away. And because at that time I just totally have no any idea about what new territory looks like. And because right now I'm a student here and study humanity, so I just get some idea about like anthropology and ethnicity, and I just later I just try to combine like what I have learned to tell you the new so my observation on the non-indigenous inhabitant. So here I want to show you a picture of Tai O. Tai O recently has become a really famous tourist spot, and I think a lot of people have been there. And here's the shed house in Tai O, and it's just kind of the same to at the squatter in New Territory. And what really interesting is, Hong Kong people always claim themselves as we start from a little fish village, but actually, at the time the fish villagers are called egg people, and they are totally discriminated by the local people. And I think right now a lot of people think, it's like Tai O is just like a preservation of the drawbacks, and it's a way to show how the development in Hong Kong are great, and those things are just drawbacks and the tourist spot to go. So what I have observed is from last year is the absence of non-indigenous inhabitants in the history of new territories. Because it's from all kinds of historical book about new territory, those kind of people are always disappear, and those people are just set it by law that made in 1899, and they are also the immigrants from mainland like me. But right now I'm not the non-indigenous inhabitants, because this name only happened in new territory. So if we trace back the history, we can see that there are some kind of laws here, and Tammy already mentioned. And after that, there's a basic law. The Article 40 is a lot of people always try to cite it, that the rights and interests of indigenous inhabitants of NT are can preserved, and somehow like that. So at the time, especially recently, those indigenous people always try to use this law to kind of protect their own profit. But at that time, so who is suffering in new territory? So this non-indigenous people. So what really interesting is, because for the new territory, before 1987, Hong Kong were using a kind of two systems at the time, because new territory are following the Qing's law at the time. But after that, when they come back to China, so actually it's no longer used. This kind of way of thinking is no longer used. So I say it's from one Hong Kong, two systems, to one country, two systems. So actually there are a lot of really interesting myths inside the villagers, indigenous inhabitants, and non-indigenous inhabitants. But even a lot of Hong Kong people cannot differentiate from those three phases. That there's a case of Chao Yin-chun, and that called Lo Wangfan. Actually, he is called the king of New Territory, and intervenes in Chao Yin village. And they said there were 40% of villagers accepted the compensation. But what really interesting here is those villagers, most of them are no longer live in that village, are no longer live in the Chao Yin-chun. The people who live in the Chao Yin-chun are those people. So there's a very, very interesting phenomenon here, that there's a lot of overseas indigenous inhabitants, and they got a lot of rights themselves, and they have the land here, even though they do not stay on their land anymore. And the people who just do their farmings or just have their houses there don't have their rights on their land. So if we go back to the social context, we can say that before the Hong Kong was treated as a buffer zone and a place for the refugees to go, and in 1953, the Chicken May fire already created the ideology of squatters, so which are kind of chaotic and dirty places. And after that, what really interesting, the non-indigenous people, if they come into the new town, their title is just gone. They are just Hong Kong people. So actually at that time, the new town already absorbed a lot of non-indigenous people when they're creating the new towns. So at 1984 and 85, there's a squatter occupancy survey. And at that time, if you join the survey, which means if the government demolished your house, your squatter, you can move to the public housing. But the thing is, it's really changed because of after 97, because of the unhealthy real estate condition and lacking of job opportunities, those public housing no longer be that good for the people to live in, as Tammy already said. So if you remember the picture that Kai just showed you, there's a couple standing in front of a lot of buildings and standing in their courtyard. Actually, they really want me to take that picture because they think they are really proud of them, their squatters, and they think their squatters is much more better than the public housing, little space public housing. So who are creating those kind of those people? The one is the indigenous inhabitants. Because it's like 100 years ago, there's only local people, Hakka and Ag people. But I think now the kind of differentiations changed. It's just from the indigenous between non-indigenous. So also there was a case that called the village representative election ordinance. That means it's like the power has of them are shrinking, but for the non-indigenous people, there's still lack of power to negotiate with the government because of the structural reasons. And here is really interesting. This village is also going to demolish, and the people who live in the village told me that before there would here's a term of the indigenous people, and before like several months before, there's just grass and everything mess there, and when they just heard they're going to develop here, and they just suddenly beautify the term and make it notable. In that case, they can get a lot of compensation from demolishing their tombs. So my question is it really their culture, or just they are looking for benefits? And to the government, you know, as Professor Tan said, it's like they are searching for the pockets of poverty, some weeks. And yeah, here the kind of like rule of public housing. And if you move away from your strata, you just only have 1 year as a temporary place to stay. And after that, you have to find a place to go by yourself. So actually from the government, they totally have no idea of those people. And here's also the picture of Mashiko. We can see that the O here's the village of Mashiko. The O here is called open space. And the GB here called green belt. And actually there's a lot of people just doing farming here. And this side is for the indigenous people. Here's the village and agriculture. And later, if we see another picture, you can see what's really interesting. Are there still agriculture place? No, not anymore. They are just like for the loading space or something like that. So actually, I think this is a really interesting phenomenon that we really need to care about those non-indigenous people. So here's kind of my conclusion from Howard Nielsen, that the government's engagement in regional controversies become deeper and deeper, but not as the mediator. Although it always tried to be impartial, later become the instrument that is exploited